Day 2 of the second test, another fascinating day of test cricket. Here is my review. Australia had made 286 in the first innings. West Indies began and Craig Brathwaite, playing his 100th test match, was out for a duck. A nice cotton bowled from Josh Hazlewood. Campbell was batting nicely and aggressively and looking pretty good. Then Pat Cummins came on and took a brilliant caught and bowled catch. Casey Carty got a bit of an inside edge onto his pad. If there'd been a short leg, it would have been a relatively simple catch for short leg. There wasn't one, and Cummins, with supreme athleticism, hurled himself afterwards, running and then diving, took a great catch. It reminded me of a catch Brett Lee took in the 2005 Ashes, which might not have actually been a catch because there might not have been any inside edge on it, but I just remember Tony Greig saying, "Oh, impressive athleticism there." Anyway, Bo Webster was brought on quite early, and Campbell, who had been batting well with, as I said, played a really bad shot to Webster, just shimmied down the pitch and sort of slogged at one, hit it straight up in the air and was caught by Stark at kind of a wide-ish mid-wicket or thereabouts, or mid-on. So he made 40, but at this stage they were 3 for 53, and I thought this is going to be all one-way traffic, but it wasn't. West Indies batted well. They got to lunch at 3 for 110, and I probably got the pitch wrong because based on what I'd seen on the first day and the variable bounce, I thought that there'd be far more on day 2. Eventually there was, but a bit like the first day, it wasn't until the final session till the variable bounce really gets going. Anyway, after lunch, Hazlewood, big appeal for LBW. Roston Chase was given not out LBW, but on review he was out. Meanwhile, Brandon King reached 50 off 77 balls, the first West Indies 50 of the series, and his first ever 50 coming in his second test. He was quite aggressive, a couple of sixes off Nathan Lyon, and as is so often the case when Australia, they were starting to be under the pump. West Indies were looking good. On comes Cummins, full of energy, and goes really wide on the crease with one. His back foot almost hitting the return crease, and just cleans up Shy Hope, a ball that sort of swings in addition to the angle, cracks into the stumps, just too good. Hope out for 21. Then there was Brandon King went to work a ball off Nathan Lyon, went through to Carey. There was a lot of excitement from the Australians, thinking that maybe there was a bit of glove. I thought there wasn't. But Steve Smith, who was captain at that moment because Cummins had briefly gone off the field, decided on the review, and the dreaded spike appeared on Ultra Edge just as it passed the gloves. So that was a fine review, and the big wicket. So King made 75, 6 for 169, and very soon afterwards, Graves was out caught behind to Lyon, 7 for 171. And again, now the feeling was Australia well on top and looked like they would have a substantial lead. Then Alzari Joseph and Shamar Joseph were together. Rather than absolute slogging, they played aggressively, but with some sort of conservatism as well. They actually had a pretty good partnership. Eventually, Alzari Joseph hit one down the throat of Cameron Green off Nathan Lyon at long on, so he was out for 27. Then Stark is back on. I was only laughing because my wife had added something to my notes there that made no sense, just as a bit of a joke, so I got a bit confused. Anyway, Stark's back on and bowling to Shamar Joseph, got one to tail back in, hit the pads onto the stumps, a bit like the way he got Shamar Joseph out in the first innings. Important wicket because he was looking dangerous, and then batting with the lower order, he was really going to be very expansive, so he finished up with 29. Looked like it was all over because Kettlebell gave Phillip out LBW sweeping to Lyon, but it was missing leg on review, and eventually Travis Head came on and got Anderson Phillip caught and bowled for 10, all out for 253. Another one that was a controversial one, the third umpire awarding it as out. Ian Bishop in commentary clearly didn't think it was out. If you listen to one of my earlier podcasts, I talk about the interpretation that apparently is being used, and that is, if the fingers are underneath the ball, then any incidental brushing of the ball against the grass is kind of ignored. If the fingers are over the ball, then it won't be allowed. And if the grass is used in any way to help catch the ball, it won't be allowed. But if the grass is just incidental, potentially brushing, they won't factor that in, which I think actually is a fairly smart interpretation, but I don't know why they don't actually put it in the laws, because in the absence of that, you could see why people would look at this and say that shouldn't have been out, yet I think it was correctly given out. So, late in the day, the Aussies under pressure. There's only going to be a few overs. Their top order under pressure. I should say Australia's lead was 33. Sam Constas cuts at one, fairly weak sort of shot, inside edge, onto the stump, out for a duck, 1 for none. Cameron Green comes out. First ball was a brute of a ball, reared up at him, took the shoulder of the bat and just bounced short of second slip. The variable bounce that I mentioned was now in evidence. That seems to be a late in the day feature. And then Khawaja got one that kept a little bit low, but it was just like the dismissal that he's had twice against Alzari Joseph in this series, where right armour bowling around the wicket, gets one to tail back in, cracks him plumb in front. It never looked anything other than plumb. He reviewed it, but it was a bad review. And it was then 2 for 12. Lyon came in as night watchman, got hit a fairly painful one on the left bicep, but seems as though he's okay. That's the final score at lunch, 2 for 12, and Australia leading by 45. So for the West Indies, Brandon King, 75 top score. John Campbell, next top score on 40. For Australia, Mitchell Starc, 13 overs, 1 for 48. Hazelwood, 14 overs, 2 for 43. Cummins, 16 overs, 2 for 46. Webster, very economical, 10 overs, 1 for 17. Nathan Lyon, 19 overs, 3 for 75. And Travis Head, 1 over and 2 balls, 1 for 3. Constas, naught. Khawaja, 2. Cameron Green, not out 6. Nathan Lyon, not out 2. So once again, the Australian top order has failed. My own personal opinion is that this whole concept of we've got to prepare for the Ashes is nonsense. The third test match, let's just assume, and I still think Australia's probably more likely to win this than the West Indies, but clearly when I said after the end of day one that Australia was well on top, I got that wrong. Let's assume that Australia do lose this test and we go to 1-1 for the third test at Jamaica, especially then, but even if we win it, especially though then, no thoughts of the Ashes should be considered whatsoever. Of the available batters, pick the best for the side. And the way things are going, I would drop Khawaja and I would drop Constas and bring in Inglis and Labuschagne. Now, if Green fails in this second innings, as hopefully he won't, then maybe I'd consider dropping him as well. I don't know, but I don't think that they should be subjecting themselves to sort of artificial constraints of, oh no, we wanted Labuschagne to go away and get some runs, or we really want to have an eye for the Ashes. No, just pick the side that's going to give you the best chance of winning it. Anyway, West Indies well in this game, and to day 3, it's going to be quite a pivotal moment, I think, in the whole series, because if the West Indies can perform well and set up the test match for a win on day 3, draws at level 1-1, great fillip for the credibility of West Indian Test cricket. So, looking forward to day 3. That's my summary of day 2.